Hi again. Welcome to Heart to Heart podcast with Pastor Rox. Today I want to share my heart about a word I feel is one of the most powerful words in the Bible, forgiveness. Now please do not turn me off, as I feel this message could change your life. Now let's start forgiveness with forgiving others, or let's say releasing what they did. Now, there is something I've seen over and over again in people's lives, family, friends, and it's this quiet weight they carry. Sometimes they don't even talk about it, but it's there. It shows up in how they react, how they trust, how they withdraw. And if you trace it back far enough, it often leads to one place. Something someone did, a word spoken years ago, a moment that never got resolved, a wound that was never released. And here's the thing, time doesn't heal what we hold on to. It just buries it deeper. Listen, forgiveness is one of the most misunderstood things in the Christian life, because many people think forgiveness means pretending it didn't happen, or minimizing the pain, or saying, it's okay. But forgiveness is not denial. It's not saying it didn't matter. In fact, forgiveness often begins by acknowledging that it did. It hurt. It affected you. It shaped something in you. But forgiveness is not about rewriting the past. It's about releasing your future. Because when you hold on to what someone did, you are not holding them in prison. You are holding yourself there. And again, I've watched believers, family, friends, people who love God, live stuck, not because God hasn't moved, but because they haven't released. And sometimes it's not even the big things. It's the small things that were never dealt with. A look, a comment, a moment of rejection, and it builds over time into a wall. Listen, forgiveness is not a feeling. You may not feel ready. You may not feel like it's fair, but forgiveness is a decision. It's a moment where you say, I choose to release this person from what they owe me. Not because they deserve it, but because you were never meant to carry it. And I know what some are thinking. If I forgive, it feels like I'm letting them off the hook. But listen carefully. Forgiveness doesn't remove accountability. It removes the weight from you. You're not saying what they did was right. You're saying, this will not define me anymore. And here's where it connects to your identity. Because when you don't forgive, you start to build your life around the wound. You see everything through it. You react from it. You protect it. But that's not who you are. You are not the sum of what was done to you. You are who God says you are. And forgiveness is one of the ways you step back into that identity. Not by ignoring the past, but by refusing to live in it. Listen, some of you have been carrying things for years, and today might be the moment where you simply say, I'm done carrying this. You don't have to feel it. You don't have to fix everything. You just have to release it. And when you do, you'll discover something powerful. Peace doesn't come from holding on. It comes from letting go. Now let's move on to forgiving yourself, or letting go of who you were. There is a side of forgiveness that many believers never talk about, but it may be the one that holds people back the most. And that is forgiving yourself. Because I've seen people who have forgiven others, but still live in quiet condemnation. They replay their past, their failures, their regrets, moments they wish they could undo. And even though they know God forgives, they haven't released themselves, and so they live divided. They worship but feel unworthy. They serve but feel disqualified. They move forward but keep looking back. Listen, there is a difference between remembering something and living under it. And many believers are living under something God already removed. They carry it like a label. This is who I was. This is what I did. This is why I can't. But let me ask you something. If God is not holding it against you, why are you? At some point, we have to decide whose voice we're going to believe. Because your past will always try to speak. It will try to define you, limit you, remind you, but God speaks differently. He doesn't speak to who you were. He speaks to who you are now. And this is where identity becomes everything. Because if you don't see yourself the way God sees you, you will keep punishing yourself for something already forgiven. And here's the truth. Self-condemnation feels like humility, but it's not. It's unbelief. It's saying what I did is greater than what Jesus did. And that's a heavy place to live. Listen, you are not called to manage your guilt. You are called to be free from it. And forgiving yourself is not arrogance. It's agreement with God. It's saying, if He has released me, I will release myself. Now that doesn't mean you ignore growth. It doesn't mean you don't learn. But it does mean you stop identifying with something that no longer defines you. You are not your worst moment. You are not your biggest mistake. You are not your past. You are who God says you are now. And until you receive that, you'll keep circling the same place emotionally. But when you do, everything begins to change. You start to live lighter. You stop rehearsing the past. You stop disqualifying yourself, and you begin to walk forward without dragging yesterday behind you. Listen, some of you don't need more prayer. You need permission to let it go, and heaven has already given it. So today, let this be the moment you stop holding yourself to something God already released, and you finally step into the freedom that was always yours. Next, let's talk about receiving God's forgiveness, or living from what Jesus finished. There is one final piece to this conversation on forgiveness, and without it, the other two will never fully work. And that is learning how to receive God's forgiveness. Because many believers believe in forgiveness, but don't live in it. They know the message, but they don't experience the freedom. And so they live in this cycle. Ask for forgiveness. Feel relief. Then feel guilt again. And repeat. But listen carefully. That is not how forgiveness was designed to work. God's forgiveness is not temporary. It's not fragile. And it's not dependent on your performance. It is rooted in what Jesus has already finished. And this is where many struggle, because we've been taught to relate to God based on how we're doing. If we're doing well, we feel close. If we fail, we feel distant. But that creates a relationship built on behavior, not identity. And that will always produce insecurity. Listen, God does not forgive you in pieces. He doesn't forgive you today and reconsider tomorrow. He doesn't forgive you and then hold something quietly against you. When Jesus dealt with sin, He dealt with it completely. And if we don't understand that, we will live trying to stay forgiven instead of living forgiven. And there's a difference. One produces fear. The other produces freedom. When you are trying to stay forgiven, you are always watching yourself, always evaluating, always wondering if you've done enough. But when you know you are forgiven, you begin to rest. You begin to live from something instead of striving for it. And this is where your identity is anchored. You are not a person trying to be accepted by God. You are a person who has already been accepted. And from that place, life begins to flow differently. Your obedience changes, not because you're afraid, but because you're secure. Your relationship changes. Not because you're striving, but because you're resting. Listen, forgiveness is not just something God gives. It's a place He invites you to live in. And many believers visit it, but never stay. They step in and then step out again through guilt, fear, or performance. But what if you lived there? What if forgiveness wasn't something you revisited, but something you remained in? That's where peace is. That's where confidence is. That's where identity becomes real. And that's what changes everything. So today, don't just believe you're forgiven. Receive it. Live in it. And let your life flow from it. Because when you do, you won't just understand forgiveness. You'll be transformed by it. If this message spoke to you today, take a moment and sit with it. Let grace settle into your heart. And if it encouraged you, pass it on to someone who might need the reminder. I'm grateful you spent this time with me today. Have a blessed day.
For a free ebook or Bible study, click the link to Pastor Rox's website below. We'd love to bless you. Have a wonderful day.